Naturally,
Yeah.
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 Oh, it's so good. Well, I'm really glad that we could make this work, and clearly this is
Yeah.
the right time to like get this kind of thing, done. So,
Yeah, no, I'm excited. I didn't even know that you had a pod. I love it.
well,
You gotta share your knowledge and love with the world.
well, and we're starting to do that. So, yeah, I mean, this was just kind of like, Annie and I would just get together and we would just like rah, rah, and talk and talk.
Yeah.
And we're like,
Oh,
we need a
bad.
podcast. People need to hear this stuff. Yeah,
They
well, you
do.
know what I mean. But
Yeah.
Mhm.
so that's
It's
kind
been
of,
therapeutic.
yeah, that was how the inception of it all happened. But yeah, so it's been fun. It's a lot of work, obviously, but it's also fun at the same time. So
Yeah. I just literally launched mine after sitting on the project for about 3 years of overthinking it and overthinking
Wicked.
it. And I finally just launched it
Do it.
beginning of this last year. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is so easy. Why have
that's
I not
awesome.
been doing this?
Yeah.
So you didn't have that microphone just like sitting around for...
No, this is just podcast. Well, now I use it for my lives and everything else. And so it's just something that I use. But
I was like, wow, did he get a microphone for our podcast? It's awesome.
Hey,
yeah, just for
this
ours.
is a big
yeah.
deal, right?
Just for us. Wow.
Yeah.
That's so cool. What is the name of your podcast?
The Men of Purpose podcast.
I want to share that with my husband.
So welcome, Dezi. I have had the opportunity to meet Dezi. Like, was it 2 years ago?
Yeah, 2 years ago in December. Yeah, it was our first conversation. Yeah.
There you go. Yeah. So I had the pleasure of interviewing and then being a part of hiring Dezi to work with our ball team down in Arizona. And then obviously we were able to, continue working throughout the year. And, when I was down there, we were able to meet up and whatnot. And he did so much good work for our team. And clearly what you're doing is still lasting, which is really great. So, we appreciate everything that you've done. And I'm, again, God, I feel like I'm going to get emotional for some reason, but we've had a lot of really,
I'll cry with you, dude. Let's go.
I know.
Get it on.
We've had a lot of like really serious like conversation about life and things like this. And as much as I love my ball team, I also so honor, respect, and I'm just so I'm so proud of you for being so in touch with, I know what I need to do, and you're doing your dream. And I'm really proud of you. So anyway, so I'm just so happy that I had a chance to at least work with you a little bit and then meet you. And now we're doing this whole thing, and now I get to promote you like crazy, and I love it.
Sure.
Yeah.
No, to me, this is all gratitude. When you asked me, Nicole, at this point, I would literally do anything for you. You were such an amazing mentor in things that I just was not at the time well versed in, and you were so implemental in what I did then and what I'm doing now. Because you're right, I'll get emotional too. I don't care. We had those really difficult conversations, and when I said like, hey, I have to do this for me. I have to bet on myself, and you went right with it. You're like, yeah, absolutely. I'm so happy for you, and yeah, I'm incredibly grateful to just be on this right now.
Oh, that's so great. So good to have you.
Yay.
Yay. Annie's just observing the love.
Feelings.
Yeah.
Right? Feelings.
Yeah. That's great. Yeah. Okay, cool. Yeah, Annie, do you wanna ask the first question?
I do. Dezi, why don't you do it? I would love to.
Yeah.
So you live in Arizona, I take it, right?
I do, yeah.
Okay, so how did you end up in Arizona? What's your background? How did you become a dietitian? Like, who are you? Tell us about yourself.
So this is my soft pitch. Is what I always say,
okay,
right?
Perfect.
Dezi Abeda, proud husband, proud father, dietitian, entrepreneur, and lover of all things. That's just my quick pitch, right? So,
love it.
So good.
Yeah. So I'm originally from Albuquerque, New Mexico.
Oh,
and I moved to Tucson, Arizona, where I reside right now. In the middle of my eighth grade. Yeah, Oof. In the middle of my 8th grade year. So I've been here ever since. And, one thing that really led me down the path to become a dietitian and what I am now was really just if I have to be honest, just a lot of mistakes.
Yeah.
But they were beautiful mistakes at that. For those who have, for a lot of your listeners who don't know the path of a dietitian, you have to go through a rigor of school and then an internship that's not paid, and then finally go find a job. And I think throughout the process, originally I wanted to be, if I'm being honest, I wanted to be a pediatrician, right?
Yeah.
So University of
cool.
Arizona, they didn't have a pre-med program. By default, it was their nutrition program. And so my first year of being there, and after going through general chem and getting my C's, I was like, you know what? I think I'm going to get into med school with these grades. So that kind of like delineated me from that path into nutrition. And I fell in love with the process of food and science, and really the role of food and culture in my life, because I oftentimes joke, every single, whether it's holiday or birthday or anything, we never got gifts. We got like, okay, what do you want to eat and who do you want to have over type of thing. So I really just learned the value of food and learned the value of connecting with others. And so now with what I'm doing now, I'm teaching a lot of my clients, a lot of my dad and parenting clients about their role in their kids' lives with food, and their role in their kids' lives about how they talk about food, how they talk about their bodies. And like, it's just really cool to be able to take that type of dynamic message. And I don't want to use the term dumb it down for men, because it's not really dumbing it down, but it's actually speaking the type of language that they will resonate with.
That's right.
Because if I talk to them about vulnerability, nothing really is going to resonate, right? It's like, wait, hold on. You cry? What? Why are you crying? Like,
vulnerability is so hard for dudes.
It is so hard. And I'm not really, all right.
And that's okay.
I do know why it's hard. Yet at the same time, if you can language it in a way where you're talking about strength and you're talking about legacy, if you can do that, those things right there, those just always just ring true with a lot of men that I serve and what I'm doing now. And so, I had the opportunity to work with baseball, which was amazing.
That's
and at
so
the same
cool.
time, it had its season, and now I'm doing what I'm doing now. And I couldn't be happier. I'm home more, which is great, because
so cool.
that was the
I
thing.
think you might be the first dietitian that I've met, male or female, that has ever mentioned how they chose this field because of cultural influences. 100%. And that to me is so cool, because so many dietitians pick this field because it's a trendy topic. It's because of eating issues or the exercise stuff or whatever. And really, truly, I think it's really admirable the reason in which you chose this field, being a cultural reason. I think that's really cool.
Yeah. Well, it's such a staple in my life, and I understood the role behind it, because I think, especially speaking on behalf of a lot of Latinos, we get told that we can't eat certain foods that are very culturally based in who we are. And I'm always the one that's like, no, that's not how that works.
Right.
So I always operate under that umbrella of respecting the culture and respecting the love and the association behind what food presents.
Right. Well, and even just, setting aside culture, but also someone's upbringing, like it maybe not a cultural influence, but more their upbringing, whether it's a low income area or there's it's a food dead zone kind of a thing, or whatever, like how a person is raised, all has to be taken into consideration. And by the time they seek out a dietitian, or a family member is seeking out a dietitian for them and very frustrated because of weight gain, or they're not following, fitting all the right health trends and all of that. You have to go all the way back. You have to really be kind and love these people, because they don't end up the way that they are because of one day of poor eating, or because they decisions or whatever. I mean, this goes all the way back to cultural influences, or just how a person was brought up. And so I wish people would be kinder in that regard, because it's so hard to hear, like, oh, so and so gained blah 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 pounds, and just like, you have no idea.
Now even like the quarantine 15, right?
I know, we laughed about that too.
It's like,
I
oh
mean,
my gosh. And
right.
this kind of, we talked a little bit about this when you sent like, hey, like we like to talk about pet peeves and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like that right
Oh.
there.
That one. That. Right
Then
there.
everybody comes
Quarantine
out of the
15.
woodwork and like, I can solve this
Mhm.
for you. I've been working like, oh my
Yep.
gosh, the amount of stuff out there now where I'm like, I am so angry right now.
I know. And I've seen a lot of social media posts that dietitians, credible dietitians, have been interviewed by news companies, and their words are being misconstrued, and they're
Absolutely.
really twisting it. And I'm not one for against the media, whatever, but like the dietitians have come out and said, like, this is not what I said. You
Yeah.
know, I have not talked about how, you know, X, Y, and Z will boost your immunity. And it's really fascinating how there's this push for all of this gimmick stuff right now.
But welcome
Yeah.
to the media world. I mean, that's
Yes,
exactly how it works. Print,
Mhm.
less from print, but does happen. But definitely news, radio, any of that can get always. That's been my experience too. It's really sad.
Hence why we have, you know, podcasting is such a great thing. Is it's, you know, it's us talking, and no, you can't change the words ultimately.
Right,
So
right,
it's kind of nice.
It is kind of nice.
So we know why you became an RD. What are you doing now? Tell people about your business, your podcast. You left the ball team, which is really cool. We're referring to the minor leagues and also the Brewers, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So, which I think is really cool. I'm jealous. I wish I could do that.
But
No,
Desi, do you?
I miss it.
Yeah,
So cool.
it's a cool culture. Desi, kind of back up just a little bit, just for a minute, to kind of also talk about what you were doing prior to coming to the team, because I feel like what you were doing, I mean, provided you with so much experience and additional, you know, it's such a foundation. You know what I'm saying? Which is so important, and to have that before you can actually move into some other areas.
Yeah, I mean, that's an area too that I think is so important. And any new dietitians or people trying to navigate the field, I always tell them this same thing. When I graduated, I didn't get into an internship right away, and so I looked at different job opportunities, and by default, I always wanted to work for Food Network. I wanted to be a Food Network star, and I'm still lying if I still don't, right?
Keep
So I ended up
applying.
getting,
Keep applying.
yeah, right.
Yeah.
So I ended up getting a job opportunity with a PR firm in Vancouver that represented them, and so to me, like, that was my in. I was like, okay, this is what I'm going to do. So within being there a day or two, I found out that my work visa got denied. So I got deported back to the States. So after like a month or two of trying to like figure out what I wanted to do, I just literally reached out to anyone and everyone that I connected with, which brought me to working with eating disorders, which for those who are doing it, they usually get, acknowledgments where it's like, oh my gosh, you work with a really hard population. How do you do it, type of thing? Or others who are just like, wait, what? And so that foundation in itself provided me with so many counseling skills. If you can guide someone through their relationship with food at that level, you can literally guide anyone and everyone with their relationship with food. And I think it was so foundational, and it literally gave me an opportunity to present a lot of the language that I do now with vulnerability, strength, courage, empathy, like all of those classic things that Brené Brown has done such a really great job with.
Yeah.
You're like
So
Brené Brown.
Yeah.
You're like
And
her little brother.
yeah, right. So I oftentimes joke too, because I met my wife in the field because she's a eating disorder therapist.
Oh, cool.
So yeah,
That's
so
awesome.
I didn't know that.
So I usually joke, she's incredibly introverted. So I usually tell people like, I'm just really regurgitating what she says to me.
Yeah.
So I mean, that foundation of working with eating disorders for the first 3 to 5 years of my career was incredibly influential. And then from there, before I got to the baseball team, I was working in the community sector. So I got to learn a bit more about the role that food plays with a lower socioeconomic status. And so I think everything that I've done up until now has really provided me with such a wide variety of experience.
Yeah.
And it's molded me. It has not been easy work. It's been very difficult, yet at the same time, it's so important.
It is.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
It's so cool.